Thank you for everyone who's joining us today. My name is Lily Jagozinski with Move United, and we're super excited that you guys are all able to join us here once again, same time, same place. We have our special guests here with Krieger Sword, who is a Paralympian, Daniel Romanchuk, who's an Olympian, and then we also have potentially two special guests with us. Today we have Alex Dupont. He's been racing for 15 years. He's a bronze medalist at the Paralympics in Rio, and he's also the co-owner of Revolution Sports. And we hope also to be joined Chris Peterson. He's the owner and operator of Turbine Bike USA. He's had 40 plus years of experience with wheelchair racing. And right now we're just having a few technical difficulties, but hopefully he'll be able to join us at some point throughout this time. As always, this session will be recorded for future use, and attendees are on mute just to minimize distractions, but there's going to be an opportunity later on for question and answer portion. So we encourage you to click the button at the bottom of your screen labeled Q&A. You can submit questions at any point in time this week. So we appreciate you coming here and joining us today, and now I'd like to turn it over to Kim Romanchuk, who also happens to be Daniel's mom and manager, who's going to be moderating our session. Thank you. Thank you for everyone joining us.
All right. Hi, everybody. Yes, again, I want to echo that. Thank you. Thank you for joining in number 7. I think this is, we didn't know what we were getting ourselves into with this. But I wanted to, first off, to echo our welcome. Thank you, Alex, for being here very last minute. This just got arranged this morning. And hopefully that Chris will also be able to be here. You guys are just a treat and a pleasure to have here. It's an honor to have you guys. So looking forward to learning from you. And I did want to echo what Lily said about the question and answers. If you guys have questions as the different portions are being talked through, if you can go ahead and put those in that question and answer right away, that gives us just a little bit of an idea of how much time we have to spend on the topics, or whether we need to put something off to next week. So if we have a lot of questions, we'll save more time for them. So as they come up, if you could put them there, that would be wonderful. One of the things that is on the list of things for today is some of the different safety equipment that you should be using when you're wheelchair racing. And for this, I'm going to go back a long time. I can't even remember how many years now, but before I was Daniel's mom / manager, and before I taught science, I was a physician at Johns Hopkins, and it's no fun seeing young kids or anyone of any age really, you know, coming in with head injuries that could have been prevented. So wear your helmet, wear your helmet, wear your helmet. Nobody plans to have an accident. And so it's a conversation that physicians don't want to have with patients, but we can go over this equipment ad nauseum, but if you don't use it, and use it correctly, it's not going to do you any good. So that's my little safety announcement, because I do have to be the official safety officer here. And now we're going to switch to, Daniel is going to start off with gloves, and I have to do something complicated and switch my video around here. And there we go. Okay, the things you learn over the years. We've all become Zoom experts, right? So Daniel, go ahead and take it away with gloves.
So, gloves we use in wheelchair racing, there are many different styles, and I've seen some very unique homemade ones. I will be going over the ones that are commercially available, but I wanted you to just be aware that you can make your own. And so there are two primary categories of gloves. There are soft gloves and there are hard gloves. So going into a bit about the soft gloves, if you have a very young racer, they may start out with a batting glove with some hockey tape or athletic tape wrapped around some of the fingers. This will allow them to hold onto the hand ring and steering easily. And so while they're just learning how to operate the chair. This, however, is not that great for learning a good stroke technique. So you're going to want to move away from this style as soon as they are comfortable with operating the chair. Another style of soft glove is a harness glove. So this is basically a mitt that will entirely surround your hand and kind of, when it's all strapped up, leave you sort of in a fist here. And so this will not fall off my hand. I can pull on it, shake my hand. This is not going to fall off my hand. Another thing about it, entirely encompassing your hand, is that if, say, I'm pushing and I slip and my hand goes into my spokes, I will have at least a little bit of protection because of the glove. And from any weather conditions. If it's freezing cold, these will provide a little bit of warmth. So the pushing surface of a harness glove is basically a big piece of rubber that is over top of some foam that's just sewn onto the glove. So the athlete can push anywhere on this big piece of rubber, and they can most likely get a pretty decent stroke. And so because it's soft, it actually, it's good at a number of things. When you're first learning the technique and just where to hit the glove, these you can actually feel the hand ring through the glove. And so it provides the athlete with some feedback on where they're hitting the hand ring. And also it sort of conforms to the hand ring a bit. So it is good in wet conditions and for starting. A lot of sprinters will use this type of a glove. Some of the drawbacks are if you wear through the stitching, you will need to find a cobbler to sew it back together. And if the rubber wears through, it's pretty much, you've got to get a new glove. There's really no replacing it. And these are around $200 a pair, I believe. And so depending on how many miles you put on these, it can get pretty expensive. And so moving into the hard gloves, there are two different styles of hard gloves. There are 3D printed gloves, and there are Aquaplast gloves. The hard gloves, in general, their advantages are, number one, you can replace the rubber. And number two, depending, some 3D printed gloves are made out of a soft material, but the hard ones all have better energy transfer than your general soft gloves. So going into Aquaplast a little bit. So these start out as little pellets that you will boil, and when they become soft, you will be able to form them to your individual grip and to your pushing surface. And so they really give you pretty much infinite customization with this glove. So for people with a unique hand anatomy, they are a great choice. Because you can really suit your specific needs pretty easily. The issue is that if they are lost, if they're break in some way, or if they're left in a hot car and deform, it's pretty hard to get that same glove back again. Once you get used to a glove, even a few millimeters of change can really make a difference in your stroke. And so reproducibility is a little bit of an issue with these, as well as depending on what you like, these are pretty heavy because they are solid plastic. So moving into 3D printed gloves. So these are reproducible. If I either lose one, it breaks, anything happens, I can just get another one printed, and I don't have to worry about it being different in any way, shape, or form than the last glove that I had. So they're entirely reproducible. Another great thing about them, again, depending on what you like really, is they are quite light because they can be made partially hollow. Right. So the if you decide to go for a 3D printed glove, you're going to need to make a few choices. First of all is the style of glove. And so you can see this glove here, the pushing surface is pretty flat. And so this is a flat glove. And this is similar to a harness in that you can hit anywhere along this contact patch of rubber and you will get a pretty good stroke. And the other style that's out there is a grooved style. There are many different styles in general, and so they all have different specific grooves to them. But the one thing that you do have to be is very precise with these gloves. Because if you're even a little bit off on your stroke, you're going to probably slip and miss a stroke. So you need to be pretty precise with these. So for a beginner, and transitioning into maybe a hard glove, I always go for a soft at first. It's just sometimes an easier transition. So once you've decided what style you want, you would need to refer to the manufacturer's sizing guide and measure your hands and figure out what size you need. Then some of them come with straps on them. So these straps just help you hold onto the glove so it's not going to fall off. And so figure out if you want a strap or not. And then I know some manufacturers produce a flexible glove. So this one is actually a flexible material. So you can see that the handle can bend there. And so transitioning from a soft glove to a more hard glove style, these can, a flexible glove can help ease that transition. I think really all that's left to choose is the color, or in some cases you can get multiple in one glove. So after making all of those decisions and deciding what glove you want to get, and so you get your glove, and it will most likely come with rubber on it, but if it doesn't, or if you've been using your glove for a while and the rubber's worn through, you are going to need to replace it. And so you just take some pliers and the piece of rubber that you want to replace, and just get a corner of the rubber and just start peeling away. And so that'll eventually peel off. I've been peeling at this for quite a while, so it's not going to be that easy. But peel that old piece of rubber off. You can throw that away. And I have an old piece of rubber that I know I liked how it worked on my glove. So I've kept it, and I can take my big sheet of rubber here and just trace it out with a pen, and then I will cut it with some scissors, and I will have my new piece of rubber that I know I'm going to like the shape of. And so then you just super glue the rubber onto your glove. You can use pretty much any super glue, and then you've pretty much you're ready to go. If you've just gotten a glove for the first time, you will want to go and use it for a very short period of time at first. So it's never a good idea to go out for a 20-mile push on a new glove. And the reason is that that glove may have certain characteristics that maybe irritate your hand. And so you're going to want to use it for a little bit and see if there are any areas that you will need to take some foam. I have just some craft foam here with some adhesive on the back. And I would just cut out whatever shape that I need and put that on my glove. So I've got a decent amount of that all over my glove here. And then just make sure that you don't get any blisters on your hands. And so I think with that, I'm going to hand it off to Kriga.
Well, Daniel, gloves, yeah, that's an art by itself, right? I think it's a good thing for us to know that you can build your own gloves, isn't it? And then over time, when you feel like you can build, and then you can maybe advance to, you know, first use the elastoplast and then, or the splint material, and then later on do your own 3D. 3D is amazing, isn't it? Where it brought us, you know, nowadays, you know, I think the hardest thing for people when it's 3D is the color. But yeah, okay, so I'm going to jump from, thanks for that, Daniel. I'm going to jump from gloves. I'm actually going to stick to gloves in some sense, but it's more about what to do when you are in a situation where you don't have grip. Okay, so in general, dry weather, you know, you have your glove, and your glove surface is rubber, and rubber on the push rim. So it's rubber to rubber, and there's pretty good friction when it's only pure rubber to rubber. Remember, you don't grab a racing chair, a rim like you would grab a day chair rim. It's only a contact, so you have to force it with friction forward. But if it rains, this it gets so slippery. So you need some backup. You need some backup. It's not easy because, well, it's easy, but it's also not easy. The best way to do this is basically repeat, train with it, and see what works best for you. Because I still make mistakes sometimes with the amount of Klister that I use on my gloves, or you know, sometimes the weather cannot cooperate with you. When it's too humid, it can be you know, or too dry. There's a lot of factors that play a role here. But okay, so I'm just going to give you an example. I have this. It's a handball Klister, and it's made by Select Sport. You can see it very sticky. Or it's very sticky because there's a lot of dust and hair here already. So this is a very light one. It's more like a liquid. So all I do is I take this is just for weather with maybe light rain, not much rain. So it's a lighter one. You don't want to go in heavy rain with this. For short races, and I would spray a little bit on my rubber of the glove, and then I will just use a rag maybe and just move it along a little bit. And once you start with it right away, it's going to feel very slippery. So you're going to work it into your rim. Okay, so you're going to start making contact for a couple minutes, and then it's going to feel slippery, but it's like almost all of a sudden you feel like, wow, now I have super great grip. And then you're able to move along. But as I say, this is a lightweight one. This is a lightweight one. I would recommend it only for really, you know, very little water. Not, you know, if you do a marathon, it's a lot of rain, you're not going to want to use this. Then you're gonna have to back yourself up with, guys, this morning I was looking for my spider tack. They call it spider tack here, right? So I was looking for my spider tack all over, and you get this on Amazon. I don't know else, but I just usually buy mine on Amazon. But I was looking all over for it. I couldn't find it just because I haven't been racing, and also haven't been in rain for the longest time. But spider tack is really, I mean, this is sticky stuff. Okay, there are other brands as well. Alex here also has a brand that he manufactures, but you just have to do your own research and see what works best for you. So with this, you're gonna open your can and you're just gonna dab something hard in it, and you're gonna do a little bit bigger than a head of a pencil is what you're gonna dab onto your glove on both sides. So not much. And then you're gonna start working it into your glove, push, and then you'll get your traction after a while. Good thing is if you do a long race, add some of this spider tack to your frame. Just put a couple dabs on your frame, and you can always just dab your glove into that notch when you're going to refresh it. Another question that I've had lately was, now in the summer, a lot of athletes have issues. It's not raining, it's not wet or anything, but they have issues slipping. So a good reason for that is usually humidity and sweat. Okay, so now I'm in my racing chair and I push, my arms get sweaty and my forearm touch the rim, okay? And that oily base in your skin is gonna be on the rubber, and rubber on rubber doesn't like it at all, okay? It doesn't like it at all, so keep your rim and your gloves clean and dry it, especially when it's humid. Another thing that I do is I use just a regular arm. These are arm protectors, and you get it anywhere at any sports shop. It's cyclists use it, arm protector. Basketball players use it, and so it just prevents your arm from hitting. It can hit the ring, but the sweat wouldn't go on the ring. It can also protect your arm if you keep on hitting your arm at the same spot. It's just, you guys here know exactly what I mean by that, especially when it was a wet race and you miss a lot. It feels like your arm is on the floor when you're done racing. But lastly, I just want to say the best thing with this is to practice and do your own research and do your own thing until you get an idea of how much you need, what conditions you need for which kind of solution. It might be spider tack, might be just the other kind of Klister, but yeah, it's an experience thing. Good. So let's, I think next we have brakes. Oh, okay. All right. So it doesn't look like we have Chris Peterson on here. So I'm going to ask the questions that I wanted to ask Chris to myself, and we'll see if I can answer them. Brakes is, all right, it's something you don't really want to use, right? You guys agree with me, right? We were just talking earlier. I remember one time I did, well, I don't think I almost ever used brakes in Peachtree, but Peachtree is a straight shot course. And we have a very technical race in Cedartown that I've also one time never used my brakes at all. It's not recommended because if you make a mistake, it's, yeah, you'll pay for it. You'll pay for it. But brakes are essential. No, you cannot go without brakes. It's the rule. 25 years ago, no, maybe a little bit longer, racing chairs didn't even have brakes. Wasn't that grand times? You didn't even have to think about brakes. But now we definitely need brakes. So the brake caliper, luckily I've got my chair here. The brake caliper of a racing chair is on the front fork. Okay, it's on the front fork. So a question that I've had from for coaches and people and parents out there, why do you not have brakes on the two back wheels? On the left and right back wheels. I think the simple reason, long ago, some of the guys tried that. The simple reason for that would be, it's hard to have two brakes, two brake levers, and which one are you going to pull? All right. So if you have two in one brake levers, one brake lever go to two back wheels. It's possible, but one brake caliper might hold tighter than the other one, and then your chair is going to go, it's going to swerve, right? So that is the reason why we have one brake on the front. And one brake on the front is it's enough. I mean, it's not the perfect solution, but because, you know, there's no weight on the front wheel, or very low weight on the front wheel. So when you go down a hill, let me just grab here. When you go down a hill and you have your brake, you just want to feather it, okay? You just want to tap it. As soon as you're gonna push down hard, it's gonna lock, the front wheel is gonna lock up. And once the front wheel locks up, then you're just gonna skid. So best is just to feather it and feel the resistance on the front wheel when you go downhill. So if I can go and talk a little bit about the brakes itself, it's underneath a fork there, like a regular bicycle. It really needs to be adjusted to always hit your front wheel is going to be in between here. It needs to be adjusted so it's not sideways like this or like that, because then one side is going to rub on your wheel and you're going to have a brake all the time, and that's the last thing you want to do. I've had several guys in marathons, in races, that the brake caliper, is what you call the brake caliper, is this part, was maybe sideways, and it would keep on hitting the front wheel and it just slows you down. Terrible. Yeah. So a good thing to check often, very often. The brake lever, back here again, the brake lever is, you can have it on either side. Mine is up top here. I just like it to, you know, because we sit with gloves that you cannot really, your hands are not really free. So you're going to be able to kind of use your palm or your pinky or your kind of the thumb of the glove, whatever can work as long as your hand doesn't slide off. Okay. So when it gets sweaty and your hands get a little bit greasy, then you just have to have a little bit more caution. There is used to be a race in Ottawa, 10K race. I remember, you know, in that race, it's a 10K, but it's a lap course. In the beginning, you feel like fine, no problem with the brakes, but at the end of the 10K, you're so tired, you start missing, and you hit too hard. So it is something that you're gonna have to learn and to figure out when to brake and how hard to brake, and brake as little as possible when it's an open race. So it's good for traffic and good for safety, but yeah, you just want to be sure you use it when sparingly. Okay. There was a question I wanted to ask Chris is, if you take a fork, a lot of, if you look at this, a lot of the bicycles nowadays, they have the brake, all this, they have it inside the fork. If you look at the fork itself, they have it built inside the fork, which is pretty cool. They call it integrated brakes. My question would be, what are we going to see that here? Or is it something more for upright bicycles? Or, you know, I actually will be interesting to see if it can be built in here. Time will tell. The only problem, I would say, there's not so much space here because we have, you know, a tiny area. So, but, you know, maybe there's some smart guys that can figure that out for us over time. Will be cool. Then a question that sometimes people ask me as well is disc brakes. Now, I don't know if you know how disc brakes work. Disc is like these brakes are two rubber pads that press against the wheel. Where disc brakes are two big discs that grab the wheel from a disc, a circulation disc on the wheel itself. So a lot of bicycles have that, and some of the hand cycles have that as well. The question there is, it, you know, worth doing it on racing chairs? Because, you know, discs are so effective. You know, when you pull the brake on a disc brake, it stops immediately. It really stops hard, and it's great on mountain bikes. Nowadays they have it on upright regular bikes and some, I guess, some hand cycles as well. But because there is so little weight on the front wheel of a racing chair, you know, it's probably not worth doing all that investing in getting a disc brake. Interesting stuff, but can talk a lot about that. Okay, I think for now, let's, you guys got that, and we're gonna, this is gonna be interesting. Let's talk a little bit about rollers. Alex, nice to have you here.
Yeah, so thanks for having me. I'm going to be talking a little bit about rollers. I guess a couple different kinds of rollers, different brands, price, what's available out there. The two main kind of rollers I'd say there is portable or stationary. So basically, do you want to travel with your roller, or do you want to have it set up in one spot and train on it year round, or as much or as no one really likes training on rollers, a little as you want, or as more as you want, I guess, as much as you want. The main difference is a portable roller will never give you as great of a training as a big roller, simply due to the inertia, the drums. They're light. They're meant to be travel with you. Most travel rollers are going to be, the heaviest one are 30 pounds down to the ones I think made by Dynamite are 5 kg, like 10 pounds. They're really, really light. They are designed to be, brought with you on a plane. You can set them up in your hotel room before a race. If you're fortunate enough to live in a climate where you're going to be only using it a couple times, here and there because it's pouring outside or whatever, you don't really have a winter, then they might be a good option. So you can take them apart and just tuck them away when you don't use them, and then pull them back up when you have to. They're really meant for that. If you're going to be like, well, I'm in Canada, it's winter down here most of the year. I train on rollers a lot, and a big part of the United States is the same way, and a bunch of places in the world too. The big rollers like I have here to my left, they are much heavier, but they do take up a lot more space. So they will give you a much better training, closer to a road feel. I'd say a really good road feel. They always going to turn a little bit better. You're always going to be doing better on rollers than you're outside in the real life. It's you don't have wind in your face and you don't have the elements and all those things. But they're going to give you definitely a much better training year-round. So if you're really planning on buying a roller for your year-round training to get fit, to stay fit during the winter months, I would say for sure buy a stationary one, not a portable one. You'll be better served with that this way. Now, as far as cost, what's out there, there's actually quite a few choices. I'd say maybe when I started 15 years ago, there was only 2 or 3 companies making them. Now there is more and more companies making them. You do have quite a bit of choice now. Some companies are harder to get hold of. So I'd say, like Japanese are coming up with some pretty cool stuff right now. But there's always a language barrier with buying in Japan, and it's a little bit more difficult to get a hold of them. And I think Dyno's using one of their portable roller, which has a pretty cool design. It's interesting because I think it's the only roller I've seen you can get on and off without getting out of your racing chair. So if it's for training at home, it's not a real big deal, but it's really interesting for in a racing situation where you don't have a place to warm up. So you can warm up just before your race, and you don't really want to get out of your chair just to get off the roller to then get back in to go to your car room or to go race. So in that aspect, they are really good. But I believe I heard those Japanese rollers are probably the most expensive rollers I've heard. Around $2,000. So it's way up there, and I'm not sure about shipping cost and all this. It's an option. It's definitely something to consider. But the 4 main companies I'd say that there is right now that makes rollers would be Top End, Eagle Racing Chair, sports chair makes rollers. There's a company in the UK called Dynamite Racing. They're making rollers, and us, Revolution Sports, are making rollers. Now, Dynamites only make portables so far, and I think they're a good option. I have here that I can't remember all that by heart, but I've got a bit of pricing, to kind of give you guys a bit of an idea. I think aside from the Japanese one that was way up there, Dynamite is probably the most expensive rotor right at the moment. They have, well, yeah, because they have two options. They're portable, so you have to keep that in mind. They're cool. They kind of, I think that the portable have the problem that they don't spin very well because they're light. Dynamite have come up with drums where you can fill with sand. So you can, they're light, but then you can put sand in it and then they'll be spinning better. And I've never pushed on one myself, but I look at them, they're really well designed. They have that design where they have angled drum, separate drum each side. So each hand, you have to keep in mind, their drums are not connected. So each hand is going to be doing its own thing. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And so yeah, they do spin better. So they retail, I see here, well, it's in pounds, so I just made the conversion for today. So it's 1,340 pounds if you want to have the carbon fiber version, which is about 1,700 US today, or 940 pounds, which is 1,200 US today for the non-carbon fiber version. And I think it's basically the same rotor, but one looks a little bit cooler and it's a little bit lighter. So I think you lose about 2 pounds on the weight of the rotor to travel with. So I think they're a cool option for sure. They're fast to put together. I think once they're disassembled, they don't come with a carry bag, so you have to kind of come up with your own weight, to stuff it in bag or backpack or whatever it is. And I think there's still a couple of very long pieces, sticking here and there. So it's something to keep in mind. They might be an okay solution for, I would say, to replace a stationary trainer, but kind of, I mean, they're from UK. UK is kind of one of those weather where they don't really have real winter for a very long time, but they have kind of muggy weather. So you don't use it that much, but use it enough. So I think it could be an option. Well, it is an option. It's a pretty decent option, but the price is way up there. So it's something to keep in mind. And then from there, actually, Eagle is making. I saw that today. I wasn't aware of that. Eagle is making a portable rotor. So I'm going from the Japanese and the UK, which is top of the range money-wise, to Eagle, which is the cheapest you can buy. So if you're on a tight budget, Eagle's making one at $375 US plus $150 shipping. So what's that? Well, just over $500, you can get a rotor at home. I think it's probably a rotor that you can't expect too much as far as a great feeling pushing on it. They're very, very small drum. All of the weight of the person is on the drum, so they will stop spinning very fast. I think it's okay if you're an absolute beginner and you're really not sure if you're gonna stick with it, or you're on a very tight budget. I think budget is always something to think about, because you're starting out, and then we're talking about $200-300 gloves, and then a $5,000 chair, and this and that, and it just keeps adding up. So this is a cheap option. It's out there. I've never tried it myself. So anyways, I think it's probably not the greatest rotor to push on, but it's an option out there and it's affordable. And then from there, all the other rollers available in the market are very close in price. So it's really something that, it's going to come down to your personal like, and you're going to have to shop around a little bit, basically decide what you like best. So if we're going to finish on portable rollers, I guess the only other company would be us, Revolution Sports, who make our portable. We retail at $11.95, no, $9.95 US, $9.95 US for a portable. The good side of them, they do come with a carry bag. They're under 20 pounds. The carry bag is small enough that you can bring it as a carry-on. You can have it on your lap, because when you travel, you already have all those luggage you don't want to check in. So that one you can bring on your lap. And then yeah, so they come down in small space. The weight of the athlete is supported by upright, so there's pieces that holds you up on it. Your weight is not on the drum, which helps a little bit for the drum not to slow down quite as fast. So it's another option there. For sure, they are slowing down faster than the big one as well. So you're never going to get the inertia from the portable than you will from the big one. So this is another thing. We include shipping with all of our rollers. So that's one thing I think the other companies will always charge you shipping to get it to you. And then for us in Canada and the US, our price is included with you know, the price of the roller. So what you know, the price is, you know, that price is, you have it at home. So that kind of stops it for portable. And then, I mean, that I think of, I mean, there's always some other little companies here and there that you see when you travel that, oh, I've never seen that one before. But I mean, those will be the main company that kind of comes to me that, you know, the main ones you'll be seeing around. And then as far as big rollers goes, the stationary, right? The stationary ones, you'll get Revolution Sports, Top End, and Eagle. Now, when I started pushing a long time ago, I started on Eagle roller. I think Eagle rollers have been around for, especially in the United States. I think most people listening to me right now have an Eagle roller. They have been around forever. They're a good design. I think they're just about, and all of our rollers are about around $1,000 really. I think Eagle is about 800 plus shipping, and then Top End, and I mean roughly, you know, within a couple $100, we're all about around $1,000. All of those rollers within $100 above or below, within that range. So the Eagle ones are good rollers. They've been around for a while. The main thing that I would say from the Eagle is the design is that you put your chair on the roller, and then you put your front wheel against a stopper, basically against a square tube that goes up, you know, and then after that you have to kind of come up with your own way, or I think maybe they give a ratchet strap with it, I'm not sure. Anyways, you need a ratchet strap to strap your chair on yourself, you know, and you kind of a little bit rely on your skill with ratchet strap to do a good job, so you actually stay on the roller. Sometimes those straps come loose a little bit, and the wheel can, you know, can move. But if you do a good job, they'll stay there. I've never fell myself, but other people have fell off of those rollers. So it really depends on how good of a job you do on, you know, make it stay there. That's one thing to keep in mind. They do roll quite good. You know, it's a bit lighter roller than ours. The Revolution Sports is a bit heavier, but the roll is a bit lighter, but it's a really good push. It's a good roller. The main thing is with that design, your chair always hit the wall. So every stroke you push, your chair is basically, you know, you put your front wheel against something. Your front fork that we were looking at, you know, now they're coming up with Turbine Bike and Top End have those very light, nice looking carbon fork. They're beautiful, they're gorgeous, but I'm not sure how good they are at hitting a wall every stroke. It's something to, you know, I never was a big fan of that idea. The fork and even the whole headset, no, those racing chairs are very light. They're meant to go fast. They're not a rugby chair. They're not meant to hit a wall, you know, however many times for training. So it's something, you know, I'm not sure if they still do, but some racing chair company used to void the warranty if you put your chair on the roller. So it kind of gives you a bit of an idea that it's a bit tough on your frame. So that's kind of does it for the Eagle roller. It's a good roller, just a little bit tough on your frame, but universal, because everybody has a, you know, that's the thing about rollers. Every racing chairs are all different. Sometimes it's hard to make them fit in certain kind of rollers. Those one universal for sure. If you have an Eagle roller, guaranteed your chair will fit on it. You just put it on, ratchet strap in, and you're good to go. The Top End one, I think it's got a lighter drum. And the design is it's a clamp coming from underneath your chair and grabs onto the middle of your frame. So it's basically, I think it's hardware that comes with it, and I think it's a bolt. It's a bolt-on system. I think where you just put the bolt through, tighten it up. I'm not sure now if you just have a quicker clamp system. I'm not sure about that part, but it's basically a piece that comes from underneath your frame and holds it there in place. This is a good design too. It supports your frame. So as far as hitting a wall, you don't have that problem anymore. Your frame shouldn't get weaker over time just because it's supported right from underneath your knees, where your frame gets it's the weakest. So it's a good thing for that. As far, I'm not sure if they come up with something right now, but for people that has the different frame shapes basically. So if you have a Top End, you know, it's the Top End roller, so they design a clamp for the Top End frame. The aluminum frame that's in the oval shape. If you have the newer carbon fiber Top End, I'm not sure. I think at one point that they didn't have a clamp that would accommodate the new energy frames. And then all of the other kinds of racing chair that exist. You know, now there's so many kinds of racing chairs with different frame shape. So it's something to keep in mind if the clamp will actually work on that. And as far as switching from if you have a club, if it's in a club situation, switching from one chair to another, it's not the fastest because you have to undo things and then readjust that and all those things. So it's price range is about the same thing. I think between the Revolution, the Eagle, and the top end would be the one that gives you the probably lesser, as far as less good feeling as far as pushing on it because it's a smaller, lighter drum. So, you know, it's a stationary, but I think it may be a little bit less good of a feeling, maybe a little bit. And then there's our roller, the Revolution Sport. It's got a same size drum, I believe, as Eagle, but just a little bit thicker. It's a little bit heavier. It keeps the inertia. So inertia to get going is a little bit harder. It keeps the speed a little bit longer. I think it's pretty close to a roll feel as far as rollers can get there. The main difference is at the back of the chair, there's a U-shaped bracket basically that you take your frame and you just drop it in. So it's held from the back bumper. So instead of having your chair pushing into a wall, it's your chair is being pulled from behind. So it's not bad for your frame. Your racing chair won't get weaker over time because of that. It's basically no harder on your chair than just pushing outside. So that's the main thing. The only thing with that is it works really well with top-end chairs, and with most racing chairs use a certain size tubing with the back bumper. We can make the use, you know, OX racing chairs use a 19mm tube, so we'll make the use, you know, for 19mm. So we can make that depending on the race chair. It will not work on Eagle racing chair. Eagle racing chairs have a different system on the back, the wheel alignment system. So you could, I guess, make something up that's going to hold from there, but I really don't suggest you do that because it will probably bend because it's just a small bolt and it will screw up your wheel alignment. So don't use that, you know, bracket on an Eagle racing chair. We do make one that slides onto your front wheel, then you can just clamp, you know, that kind of comes back to the Eagle system where your front wheel is held down, but you don't have to play around with trying to strap. That one is just a handle you just tighten up onto your front wheel, and it's just quicker. But as far as holding your frame, it's universal, but it comes back to maybe not the greatest thing for your frame. I think that's about it for rollers, really. The other thing too is there is a lot of used rollers in the market. You know, people are retiring, people, you know, changing sports or whatever. It's something to consider. There is some good rollers out there. If you're in a tight budget, you don't want to buy any. I mean, at the end of the day, our rollers are hunk of steel. It doesn't really get old. I mean, it gets dusty, it gets scratched, maybe it might rust a little bit because, you know, you could have left it in the basement. But if you're on a tight budget, don't shy away from a used roller. You know, it might squeal a little bit because, you know, the bearings rust out or something. They're easy to change. The bearings are probably $10 a piece or something. So, I mean, if you're not handy, find somebody, you know, a little bit handy to help you change them out. And you can probably get going with a decent roller on you know, for next to nothing. Some people just, you know, give them away or sell them for cheap, you know, when you don't have a use for it anymore. There used to be a company back in the days called D&J Rollers, and they were really, really good rollers. The only thing is they made them for the old chairs, which were much shorter. So now our chairs don't fit on those rollers anymore, but we have made some brackets, I guess, so you can, for some customers that had those rollers, we just didn't want to buy a whole new roller. So we made some brackets so you can still use them on your newer, longer chair. So yeah, I think it's just important to keep that in mind, that the old rollers, not because it's old that it's, you know, not good anymore. It's just a roller. So that's about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I unfortunately can say that I'm one of probably a very exclusive club that has fallen off of a roller before. I just forgot to clamp the front wheel down and hopped in my chair, and I'm like, man, I thought my chair was on the roller.
That's probably a day you needed the helmet, right?
Always wear the helmet. Always wearing my helmet.
Oh, I think that we have definitely seen athletes get a flat while at a high speed on the roller, and that if you're only held on by the front wheel, that can skew you right off the side. We've seen that happen. So yeah, that's great. I love your comments about the used ones, Alex. I remember cleaning out the Daniel's Youth Club's shed, and they had a ton of Eagle rollers back there, and they hadn't been using it. Just, you know, different programs were more predominant at that time. But Daniel trained on that roller, one of those rollers, for a long time, and they've just been resurrected with the COVID stuff and all those. Glad we didn't throw them away, right? And they work just fine. And so very good. We have a ton of questions. So let's see here. Changing resistance on the rollers. I know that Top End, their rollers, from what I understand, I saw somebody using one. There's a strap that actually goes around somehow feeds into the roller itself, the drum. And so that one I think does have some option to control it that's built into the roller system. What do you guys use if you want to change resistance though? Anyone jump in?
Yeah. So the strap system, I tried a little bit on my roller, just not a commercial idea, just basically taking a ratchet strap and just try it a little bit and stuff. The thing with straps, it does work. It does work. If you want to practice like a start, I'd say it's probably a viable option. Because you're going to be working as a strap. I think I've seen a video actually a while ago from Trigger was using some kind of tensioner, with a scale thing, so you actually knew how much weight he was pulling on the band, and it works. But I mean, you're gonna be one stubborn trainer to train on that for a long time, doing a lot of miles with that, because I mean, you lose all your inertia. You might just every stroke you do, the drum's gonna want to stop very fast. It's not smooth, I'd say, unless Gregor maybe figured out a way to make it smoother. I think there's University of Illinois came up, when they hooked up a Wahoo Trainer on them. So it's basically a Wahoo, for the people that don't know what it is. It's a bike trainer, commercially available. You can buy it, and they hook it up on there. And it's been working good for them. It's a bit expensive for sure, but it's something you can program, and you can actually keep the roller turning, but you can work against it and all those things. So I think it's a good option for that. But there's not a whole lot. There's not a ton of good viable option for restriction on rollers. You can make, I think for sure, the strap thing that you can just tie up around your drum, and it doesn't matter which roller you have. I think anybody can come up with their ways to do that, and that'll be the easiest way for sure.
Yep. So as you mentioned, I'm out at the University of Illinois, and so we have modified bike trainers attached to our rollers. But before I came out here, we learned that a shoe works great. An old shoe, shove it in the roller, and that is some great resistance right there.
If you were wondering how Daniel learned to climb hills, it was the shoe. All right. Let's see here. I'm going to switch to a braking question here. Braking on a downhill, how do you handle this? Or not handle it, Daniel, if you've got a long downhill and you've got a turn at the bottom. How about somebody who does that right? Answer that one.
Don't ask me, Daniel. You can go for this one. What do you say?
Oh, sorry, you didn't hear it. It's okay. Krieger, no, seriously, how do you handle a long downhill with a turn at the bottom?
Well, the Boilermaker road race in Spokane, I mean not in Spokane, in upstate New York, it's got a very long downhill with a 90-degree turn at the bottom. So usually you go pretty fast, and the thing is you have to start earlier. That's the main thing. If you start late, it's not like a car or a bicycle. You can use your brakes and almost stop immediately. Like I said earlier, you have to feather your brakes and slow down gradually. It's not when you pull it down, you're gonna just just plan for it, and don't let your speed go too high when you get close to your turn.
All right, great. Let's see here. question, and Krieger, I missed a little bit of your presentation here. Did you talk about different temperatures with different kinds of Klister / spider?
Well, I didn't really talk about different kinds of Klister there. I think maybe Alex, can you jump in there, because don't you make something that is for different temperatures, different kinds of consistency Klisters?
Yeah. So we make one for cold weather and one for warm weather. I tried a whole bunch of Klister myself before I got into the venture of Breaking Bad and trying to come up with some special glue for that. I tried the spider tack that Gregor is using, talking about. It's really good. If you're looking for some extreme stick, that's it. You know, it's and yeah, it's a mess. Like you said, you know, you just take a little bit of the end of the stick and put a little, like you just use a very little bit, because you're in for a surprise if you use too much. But that stuff, the spider tack, does not handle cold so well. It gets really, spider tack and most Klister, I'd say, does not handle cold so well. They get rock hard. As far as I know, our cold Klister is the only one that you can actually use all the way down to freezing temperature, and it's still going to be usable. It's still going to get the job done. You're going to be able to actually get it out of the tube, and it's going to stick. It's going to work. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if you guys have figured out anything else that works close to freezing temperature. Like I'd say the last Tokyo marathon I did was terrible temperature. Daniel had was fortunate enough to be there as well. We can talk about that. And then I had a lot of trouble with the race, but as far as sticking and moving, the Klister did its job. So it's yeah, cold in Klister is a tough one. Cold in Klister is a tough one, and unfortunately, it's usually when sometimes it rains warm, like in Cedartown. I guess that's one of the only places I think you're wearing warm on me, and that's another ball game. Maybe there that spider tack probably does a pretty good job. But when it gets colder, it's for sure that the Klisters, you're limited in choices of Klister work. Maybe that very light spray that Krieger was talking about, I've never tried it. It could maybe be an option too. I'm not sure in cold weather.
I think some of the racers have gone to the ski world to find some stuff, because obviously that's designed for those kinds of temperatures. I know Daniel had a race in Switzerland last year where you had spider tack on, right? And the temperature just plummeted.
Spider tack temperature when I put the Klister on my chair, and then it just dropped.
Yeah.
So that it just froze up on me, and that was not a fun race.
Yeah, raining and no grip. We are running ourselves out of time, and we have a lot of unanswered questions. We will get back to everybody, as long as you we'll try to catch these out of the chat as well, and we'll get the links for the 3D printed gloves. The different companies, Alex's company makes them. Ingenia Manufacturing in the US has been making them for quite some time now. Lily, is there a way that we can get these answers out to the whole group? Because there's some really good questions here that we just did not have time to cover.
Yeah, absolutely. What we can do is we have recorded everyone's questions as well as who asked them, but when we send our follow-up email, we'll try and make sure we touch on that for our key facts and takeaways.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Well, is there anything else that you guys wanted to add? I know we're just about time. Anything you guys want to say in final remarks?
Stay tuned for next week. We are going to have some special guests in, and we're going to be dealing with a lot of travel questions, because that's always a huge question when you start traveling with your equipment, how to do that safely and efficiently, and not feel like you just got 10,000 bags with you that are all going to be charged a fee at the ticket counter. So that's on the docket for next week.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. And as Kim said, we are going to be back here again Thursday, July 23rd, and we will be from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to be talking about travel. And if you guys haven't already checked out our Move United Adapt at Home page, we list a bunch of virtual events there, as well as the information for our next session will be there. We will also send out a recording for this video and a follow-up email to all attendees. We appreciate everyone being here. Krieger, Alex, and Daniel, thank you. And Kim, thank you for moderating as always. It's been a great series of sessions, and we appreciate everyone's time and knowledge and expertise. So with that said, there will be a survey at the end of this session, and if you guys are able to complete it, tell us how we're doing, tell us if you want to focus on anything else for the future, and we'll continue on.